He's a master of bug books, pop-up books, and things about abstract art. My guest in the studio today on Books Alive will be David A. Calder. That's coming up next. Thanks so much for joining us today on Books Alive, and as always I'm just delighted to tell you who my special guest is in the studio, and today it happens to be David A. Calder. Welcome to Books Alive, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Barb. Thanks for having me.
Now, I went and delved deep.
You dug deep.
Very deep. And I brought something out of the closet.
Yes.
Because I thought it would be fun for you to look at where you came from here.
Sure.
How to be an ocean scientist in your own home.
I think that is the first book that I illustrated.
Wow.
Many, many years ago.
And did you have any idea where, any vision of where you wanted to go at that point?
At that point, I think I knew where I wanted to go. Whether I would actually make it, I didn't know.
What did you major in college?
Well, I studied illustration at Utah State University, and they had a really nice illustration program, but I didn't graduate. I only spent a year and a half in the program before I was broke.
Okay.
And went out and got a job.
Wow.
Yeah. But I got a job in the graphic design business, so I was in the business that I wanted to be in at that point.
Yeah. Now, you told me that as a child, or actually I read this, as a child you loved to go out and lift up rocks and logs and see what was underneath there.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you where that story came from.
Okay.
After I'd published quite a few books, I got an email one day from a young woman who was studying children's literature, and she asked if she could ask me some questions. So she did, and one of her questions was, or what was a day of 8-year-old David Calder's life like?
Great question.
Yeah, so I said, well, I was a young boy. I grew up in this small town in Utah, fields all around us. One of my favorite things to do was to go out in the fields or just in my backyard and lift up rocks and boards and look for bugs, or look to see what was under those boards, just that natural curiosity.
Yes.
And then it just struck me at that point. I thought, that's exactly what the bug books are.
Yes.
You're lifting something up and finding the bugs underneath.
Yes, it is so cool. When I thought about that, I've just interviewed Catherine Patterson recently, and we talked about wonder. Sure. And to me, what you're talking about is that sense of wonder that is under that rock.
Well, just that natural curiosity.
Yes.
I mean, that to me as a child, that's really what it's all about. And when we were young, when I was a young boy, there wasn't much else to do. You sort of, we're let loose in the morning. And you had to entertain yourself. You played, but that natural curiosity was there.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's still here with everybody now. Young children and old children, too.
Yes, we keep it alive.
We keep it alive, yeah.
Now, what was the first bug book to come out?
The first bug book was How Many Bugs in a Box? It was published in 1988, I believe.
Okay,
20 years ago.
20 years. Wow.
I was 14 at the time when I made the book.
Oh, you're... Oh. Okay, all right. Having a little fun with me there, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
20. I think I was, I think then I was 24, 25, 26.
Okay, that's great.
That range, yeah.
What a launch.
Yeah.
I mean, it started this, year after year? Did you do a book a year, or how did it go?
Almost a book a year, yes. And, I didn't expect that to happen. One title was all I expected, but once that book was published, and then there was an idea for a second title, then a third title. And then, the books did well, and so we started signing 3-book contracts, and before you know it, I couldn't even tell you how many bug titles there are now.
Oh, wow.
I lose track. There might be 15 or 16 or 20,
Well, I've got feely bugs in my hands right now.
Okay.
Now, this is a bit of a leap, though. I mean, I'm with you with the curiosity and the wonder, but when they start to turn into purple things that gleam and have pink feathers, where did all this come from?
Well, on this particular project, I just wanted to experiment with the genre of touch and fill.
Yeah.
So I just built the book based on touch and fill materials.
Oh, cool.
So here's the case where I started with the materials, and I literally just went through I went to fabric stores, I went to hardware stores, and I found materials that were tactile and, you know, I thought would be interesting for children to touch, because that's a big part of the books, is the interactivity, the ability to touch it, to move it, to so I wanted to experiment with
Puffy.
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 Yeah.
You need Puffy. These say peel me. No one ever did.
Well, yeah, if you peel those, they're sticky underneath. That's what it is. So they're tacky.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Wrinkly.
Wrinkly.
Velvety.
And crinkly.
Oh, crinkly. Bristly bugs and crinkly bugs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, any young child would just go crazy with this.
Yeah.
Really and truly.
And when people ask me, you know, I have a 1-year-old niece or nephew or child or 2-year-old, which book do you recommend? I always send them towards Feely Bugs, because that is more difficult to damage than any of the other ones. Yes,
exactly. Birthday bugs.
Birthday bugs.
Yay! This is a pop-up party. Who is in the bubbly birthday box?
Of course, the balloon bugs. There you go.
Can you remember all these?
No.
Page by page?
No.
So it's as big of a surprise for you as it is for us?
Yes, quite often.
Oh, that's cool.
Sure.
Who's in the happy birthday box? Woo! A root beer float bug for you to slurp. Yay! Oh, my gosh. There it is.
Of course, the birthday cake at the end.
Yes.
Yeah. And in the envelope here, you have candles.
Oh, wow.
So you can put one candle in for the first birthday.
Yeah.
Well, you can use this for 10 years.
Oh, cool. Now, how did you learn how to do that?
The paper engineering.
Yeah.
Well, coming from Salt Lake City, Utah, where I had worked for the graphic design, industry for a while, to Los Angeles, I went to work for a company called Intervisual Communications, and that's the company that really started the renaissance of pop-up books. They started in the early 70s, and I went to work for them in the early 80s. Just as an illustrator, well, I actually went to work for them on the very bottom level of the art department. I was a paste-up artist.
Oh, wow.
And those are, these are the days long before computers. Everything was still done by hand, wax and boards and all that sort of stuff. But I went to work for them as a paste-up artist and would put art in place. And, over the 7 years while I worked there, I learned paper engineering just by being around the business.
Wow.
So there were paper engineers working there. I learned from them by watching them. And that's where I learned the art of paper engineering, just by being at Intervisual.
This is a great time to look at this one, the elements of pop-up.
Right.
I mean, you teach how to do this.
That's it. That's the, I like to sort of call that the palette of pop-up designs. I mean, as far as I can tell, these are the basic structures that we all use. And I think almost all the basic structures that we all use. We spent a lot of time. My co-author Jim Diaz and I. Jim was the creative director who hired me at the time, and the two of us, sort of over the years, sort of developed a vocabulary. He was my boss, and he would say, do that. Do that cone thingy. So we started, trying to put names to it.
And you called it a paper tent or something.
A paper tent, right?
Yeah.
So do the V folds, do the angle folds, do a parallel fold. And so at one time we decided we should put this down, because this came out of the fact that quite often as I visit schools, they'll ask me, where do you get your ideas? Where do you get your ideas? And so the standard reply to that is, well, write about what you know. So if you love to ride horses, write about horses. If you love to skateboard, write about skateboarding.
Yeah.
So at one point I just took my own advice and I wrote about what you know, because I realized that there was really nothing out there that talked about pop-ups and actually showed pop-ups. I mean, this is a three-dimensional medium, so I decided to let's make a how-to book, put down what we know, and make it three-dimensional and make it a pop-up.
So you defined it. The two of you, you and Jim Diaz.
Right. Wow. I mean, I one time heard someone refer to this book as defining the art of paper engineering.
Yeah.
So it is.
Wow.
It is.
So you're the pioneers. That's really
I think
cool.
the pioneers came before us. We've just chronicled it here. This is the first time that we put it down, hopefully for future generations.
Yeah.
And other people who are really serious about paper engineering, because this truly talks about the art of paper engineering and the process that it takes to actually take it from an idea to a finished product, a book or a advertising piece or something. So.
Well, I mean, it's so wonderful because especially for young boys, I mean, they like a story. But it's so much better if they can do something with it.
Sure.
Fiddle around with it, make it move, touch it, hear it, whatever.
Just that good old interactivity. It's almost plain. someone's playing. But I think you I think you learn by playing. I think that's the experimentation that you go through.
Absolutely. Right. That's awesome. All right, so can you find the blue bug? So I turn the little wheel, and I look, oh, not there. Not there. I mean, you could sit and do this, and I'll bet kids would. And the different colors. What a great way to learn color.
Sure.
I mean, how fun.
Yeah.
How fun. Just play with the different wheels. Did you try these? Did you test drive them on your own children?
You know, I don't know if I test. I'm not sure if I tested it, but I certainly watched our children as they grew up, and sort of learned from watching them and other children spending time in preschools and that sort of thing. So I think that's where it came from. And this is basically just the old concept of peekaboo, hiding something, finding it, hide and find. We all love it. Everybody loves that.
This is my favorite. Oh, I love this book. Okay, I'm hoping we can get this. I told you, I don't even have to lift the flaps.
Well, that comes from the old idea. Do you remember the laugh boxes?
No.
Oh, you'd get them in like joke shops and stuff. Oh, and you'd push a button, and when we were kids, we'd get those laugh boxes, and it would make us laugh. So I thought, this is a perfect application for the electronic sounds and that type of thing.
It's perfect. So the kids can lift the flap. Why do some bugs become baker bugs? Because they need the dough. Yeah.
I know, it's
funniest thing I ever heard. That is such a fun book. What's funny about 4 + 4 = 8?
What is the, what's the wrong, I don't have my glasses, so I can't see.
Okay.
Why is it dangerous to do math with a spider?
If you add 4 and 4, you get 8! Oh, that's great. That's why it's my favorite.
Right,
yeah. I just like to push the button.
You like to laugh is what it is.
I do. And I think kids do too.
Sure.
That's really fun. Speaking of, if you're happy and clap your hands.
Come on, everybody.
All right, now you do it because you were showing me how you like to use this, and I think it's great.
Yes, I like to use this book with a group of kids. And so if I'm reading aloud to the group, and the kids have been sitting very nicely for 15 to 20 minutes, but I see them starting to fidget in the background, I pull this book out because this book requires that they stand up and actually sing the song with me. So I do it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And then I say, bravo!
Yay!
Good job, everybody! Yeah, it's really almost becoming a puppet.
It is.
The puppet book is,
it's outstanding.
And then on and on it goes to wiggle your tail. And of course the kids are very noisy, and there's one particular piece there. This is wink your eyes. And when you do this, everybody becomes quiet because it's so hard
trying to wink your eyes. Yeah, can you wink both your eyes?
Well, it's
kind of, sort of.
You really have to concentrate. And then what I tell them, if you don't wink your eyes, the owl gets mad.
Ooh.
Anyway, that's
fun. What a great version. We do story times at the library for the young kids, the really little ones, and this is just ideal for that.
Well, it's because they get up and they do it. They wiggle they wiggle their tails, and yeah, it's fun.
And get to wiggle around. Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
But when we come back, we're going to move into some of what I call your more sophisticated stuff.
Yes.
And I'm going to learn a little bit about art and abstract art. Stay with us.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
What is that thing?
Looks like somebody's double chin. Must have lost it snacking on fruits and vegetables.
Somebody's gonna trip on that.
Welcome back, and I am sitting here with David A. Calder, and we've been having an absolute rollicking time, and I'm so glad you guys could be here. Now, I'm calling this segment of the show the college course because he is going to teach us all about abstract art, geometric shapes, and these cool things he has in his books. We're going to start with this one. All right, David E. Carter. So I open it up, and I find all kinds of shapes.
Not a question mark.
Yes.
So you're left to your own imagination to try to figure out what
is
what
going
it's about.
on.
Yeah, and what these shapes may mean or may not mean. I don't know. So what do you think it is? What I don't know.
Well, that looks like a fluffy cloud.
Cloud, yeah.
And those look like antlers.
Yeah, little hats.
And that looks like an ear.
Something, yeah.
And those, I guess, could be eyes.
Could be.
This one, a palette.
It looks like a palette, doesn't it?
Yes.
Could have had a little thumb hold, then it would be a palette for sure.
Yes. Should we turn?
Go ahead, open the page.
Okay.
It's a lamb.
Cool.
It says ba ba.
Yes.
So it's an animal sounds book, and I'll show you something else about this.
All right, please.
Okay, if you look at these shapes, they're cut out of the white paper. They're actually glued onto the page right there.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Now, you could use these as templates?
You could if yes, you could.
Okay.
Children could use those to draw with.
Okay, and look at this. So this is using your imagination.
It's using your imagination and looking at shapes, and really what it is if you were an artist and you were making a collage.
Okay.
You're cutting out the shapes to glue down to make a piece of artwork. This is how it works. So I'm designing the shape of an animal, of a lamb, and I actually draw these shapes and cut these pieces of paper out and glue them down. So this is the process of creating a collage.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you what it is.
Whoop. Frog, ribbit. Oh, wow.
Those are the pieces.
Cool. Do you see the world like that?
Yes and no. I mean, I see the world like that when I choose to.
Okay.
So if I sit down and say to myself, I'm going to start experimenting with shapes.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's what it's all about, experimenting with shapes and colors and images. And so when I choose to sit down and use shapes, that's how I see things. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Sure.
Were you trained, or is that just you?
Well, no, I wasn't necessarily trained to do that. As an artist, I've been drawing all my life, so I love to draw. Well, by drawing, when you're drawing, you're looking at shapes. As you're analyzing any kind of image, you're looking at the shapes of what shape is the head, what shape is the nose. So you learn to see shapes. So from that, I decided, well, let's expand that and just use the shapes. And I'm not the first artist to do that. That's kind of what abstraction is.
Okay.
The artist who could see the shapes and then change them, and sometimes maybe even make them so far away from the natural image that it doesn't any longer look like the natural image.
Okay.
But the artist started off by seeing the natural image and seeing the shapes.
Why do we want to do that?
I don't know.
Okay. Darn it!
It's one of those. It's something that's natural in the artist. I think. I don't know if there's any real.
They just want to take it as far as they can.
Part of the experiment. Well, I think what happens, and I know what happened for me is I got to the point where I was just tired of drawing the picture that looked like a photograph.
Yes.
So now I want to experiment with, because now, at some point it's the shapes that interest me, the shapes and the colors, and just the comparison of those shapes and colors, rather than trying to make something look exactly like I saw it.
So this is Picasso?
I think that's I think that's part of what they did. I think that's part of what the post-impressionists did was just sort of move away from the structured painting that everybody told them they should do to do their own thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't there, so I'm not certain. But I think that.
You didn't interview him.
I didn't interview him. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, more
Here
shapes.
we go. Another question mark.
What could
Where
this
are
be?
the answers? Claws?
Could be claws.
Teeth?
I don't know. Teeth. Teeth would be good.
Teeth would be good? Okay, let's see.
Legs.
Legs. Wow.
Wasn't that obviously legs? No.
Apparently not. To all children, yes.
And some legs are one direction and some legs are the other direction.
Yes. And the sun's coming up?
Oh, good. I'm glad you caught that.
Or those could be boats.
They could be ships. They could be ships. That's right. Yeah.
All right. And more. We're back at it.
What are these shapes? Simple
we're back
shapes
at
again.
It. Okay. And bodies. Whoa, the sun's really up.
The sun's moving again.
Should we jump to the end?
Sure.
That could be fun.
Mouse.
Mouse. Wait a minute. Is there another one?
There are. Oh, yes. What's this one?
Oh my goodness.
So the shapes build two dogs. That's what happens. And then
Okay.
on the very end, it's like, what could those shapes possibly be?
That's what that's when you've left the dogs alone at home, and that.
I wasn't going to say that.
Okay.
But it's true. Puppy. Woof, woof, woof. They're all,
Okay, now this is one red dot, which pretty much kind of shifts you into a whole different gear in your career, I would say.
That's right, yeah. Whole different, it's a very different art style than most of the earlier pop-up books.
And this, we talked about Alexander Calder at lunch. Was he, can you talk a little bit about who he was, what he did, and how it influenced you?
Sure.
Okay.
So the history of these books is that for many years doing these regular pop-up books where I draw the images, the bugs, and that sort of stuff, paper engineers, we experiment with just white paper, do some drawings on the white paper. But every once in a while I would build something in white paper that I liked, where I liked the structure, but it didn't work in my pop-up book. So I would just keep this little piece and I put it off to the side. And then I developed this collection. Well, at one point I started looking at the collection and thinking, well, these are interesting pieces. What can I do with this? So I started building them larger, still in white paper. And I had these nice pieces, but I still, it wasn't a book yet. So one year, we visited an Alexander Calder retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I walked in this room, and there's the entire room was full of beautiful Calder mobiles, and it was all in color. And
so he does mobiles.
He does mobiles. He does. His structures are beautiful forms and shapes in bright colors. That's basically what it is. And of course, the mobiles move. Then he has stabiles,
cool.
which are just the structures that don't move.
Okay.
And he does big public art pieces.
Oh, neat.
So coming out of that exhibit, I
Yes.
decided I'll just change. Instead of using white paper, I decided to start cutting using the colored paper. And that was it. That's what really turned these from just the experimental structures into this particular art form.
Oh, cool.
So adding the color, the inspiration of Alexander Calder's colors is really what made this happen.
Okay.
But it was also the abstract shapes. But once you get there, then you're not just talking about Alexander Calder. You're talking about all the post-impressionists who came along afterwards. So Miro and Paul Klee and all the painters and the artists who started experimenting with what they call non-representative art forms.
Okay.
Meaning basically abstract shapes and forms, but not ever intending to look like something in particular.
Is this supposed to evoke something from me?
Exactly. That's
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned, that's really what I would like. I hope that when people see this artwork, that it makes you feel good. That it just sort of makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I think what happens a lot of times is people look at modern or contemporary art and are maybe a bit intimidated because they think they don't understand it.
I totally feel that way.
But the point is, I really, what I'd like to talk about is that the point is not to understand it. There's really nothing to understand. And so getting past that point, the point is to maybe just look at it, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't. And then maybe think for yourself. Well, like, what does this remind me of? What do I get out of this? Because something's missing there.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah. But so as far as I'm concerned, that's what it is. It's I'm hoping that you get pleasure. I'm hoping that it makes you feel good.
Okay. So it's just joyful.
Maybe it makes you chuckle, and it's joyful. Yeah.
Okay. And on every page, we look for the one red dot.
That's right.
Okay.
And that was a concept that came along towards the end of these books, where I was trying to tie the pieces together. Like, what do I do to make this into a book that has some sort of cohesion?
I see.
And hiding the red dot was what made it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just love shape.
Shape and color, shapes and colors, and forms, and just the feelings that a coil makes you feel, or that the neat shadows.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you've got, is it 600 black dots? Is that right?
There are 600 black dots.
Okay.
This particular series will have 5 books in the final series.
Oh, cool.
And the reason there are 5 books is there are 5 colors in the book. So there's a book for each color.
Oh,
there's
how fun!
A red dot for red. There's blue too.
Okay.
For blue. There's 600 black spots.
All right.
For black. Yellow squares for yellow, which is the most recent book. And the next book that I'm working on will be the white book. And I don't know what it is yet. I'm working on it right now.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Now, is this Calder-like, this thing right in here, or is that just fun?
Well, you'd actually see that type of bit or piece of a structure on quite a bit of the work that came from the post-impressionist artists, the sculptors. I mean, but you might see a line and a circle in a Kandinsky painting. You might see, once again, they're shapes and forms that aren't intended to mean anything, but hopefully they have some sort of harmony in the piece.
Cool.
I mean, one line looks good with one shape, two lines, and so it's a matter of trying to create balance and harmony in the image, and lines and circles and squiggles and form is what makes that happen.
Oh, neat. Now, I told you that until we sat down together and I looked at this, I could not find the yellow square in here to save my life.
Right.
So it's a really fun hunt to see if you can find it.
Sure.
This to me was prayer flags, the Tibetan prayer,
sure.
And
And see, that's part of it. You're bringing your own influence to the artwork because that's because it's kind of an open palette.
Cool. And all wrapped up.
Canvas.
Yeah, so you got to look. I see it.
And you look in there, and there's something else on this book. So the first book is one red dot. The second book is blue 2. Well, in blue 2, there's a red dot. In the third book, which is 600 black spots, there's a red dot, there's a blue 2, and 600 black spots. In this book, there's a blue 2, a red dot, 600 black spots.
Oh, wow.
And the 600 black spots are on that spread. Can you see them?
On this one?
There are 600 black spots on that spread.
You are kidding me.
Oh, they're there.
Holy cow.
I'll show you in just a minute if you want to.
Okay, yeah, do, because I'll be the last one in the room to find
very carefully on these panels.
Oh my gosh.
Little tiny black spots. There are 100 on each of 6 layers.
How cool is that? Oh, that is fun.
So there's all the other hidden things that are in these books too.
Okay, now tell me the trick to this.
Well, first, this is the piece that just expands
oh,
like this.
Wow.
This piece is sort of a homage to a Gaume, and a Gaume is an artist, and a Gaume made these pieces that you would view. You see one view here. You see another image when you turn it like this from this direction, and you see another image when you go from this direction.
Oh, that's incredible.
So if you hold this piece just right and look from this direction,
cool.
these shapes will line up to be a square. But it's really hard to see. It is hard to see. So we made a cropping frame.
Neat.
So if you hold this in the right place and sort of experiment, move it around, you'll
Oh,
frame it so that you see nothing but the yellow square.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably not getting the whole thing, but
But if you move it around and get it in the right place, you will see all yellow in that
how
square.
are you supposed to know to do that?
What I'm hoping is that when people get these books, they'll experiment with them. They'll play with them. They'll play with them. And so the goal is to not try to understand it, but simply pick it up and play with it.
Yes.
And I promise you, children understand that, and quite a few adults do too. So that's what I'm hoping, is that you'll play with it and have a good time and have fun.
How cool.
Yeah,
I have a friend who was the principal at one of the, Centennial High School. Our families will know that school. And her grandchildren love one red dot.
Good.
And she's just crazy about it. And so, I can tell you that families are really out there doing what you want them to be doing.
Good. I mean, children are so open. That's what it is. They're just open to so many things. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so much smarter at times than we. Now, I call this your Hall of Fame bug book. It's the big bug book. 20 years?
20 years ago, this year, How Many Bugs in a Box was first published. So this is the celebration of 20 years of bugs. So what I did with this book was go back and use what I consider the best of all the books. The best, individual spreads or pieces, and we tied them all together.
I love the eyes.
Yeah.
I love the eyes.
You can open this up and look inside.
Oh, cool.
They're saw bugs. Careful, don't let them out.
Oh my gosh, quick, turn the page. Oh, they're the crinkly ones that were in the very first one, yeah. Some bugs glow, some are slow.
There's the glowing.
Oh, cool. Oh, that is very cool. Some bugs are slimy.
Slug bug, that's a slug bug.
Slug bug. Whoa. The roller coaster bugs. Yay!
My favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
My favorite sport at an amusement park are big roller coasters.
Wow. Yeah. Well, for children of all ages, I think we really
we're included in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The dainty dancing bugs. We really have to thank you for your incredible. Whoops.
There you go. Hammer got snagged. There
we go. Yeah. incredible imagination
thank you.
and your talent and your gifts and what you've given us. I mean, it's great as a librarian or just as a parent or a grandparent to be able to hand this to kids and make reading such a good time.
Sure.
Such a fun thing to do.
Yeah. And what I hope is that I was a reluctant reader when I was a child. I had a hard time reading. I had vision problems. And so I keep hoping that maybe this will sort of draw some reluctant readers into reading because they're active. You can touch them, you can feel them. And so maybe someone who doesn't necessarily love to read will start with these and move on. So,
and a book will be a friend.
A book will be a friend.
That's very cool.
And makes you look forward to books.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much, Barb. Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was really fun.
Thank you. It was good.
And thank you all so much for joining us. And as always, come see us at the library.